Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The GOAT, where we talk about what it takes to be a GOAT and everything GOAT related. We talk to GOATs and we talk to people that help make GOATs. And what are GOATs? GOATs are people that are the greatest of all times at what they do. And tonight I'm with Julie. She's in beautiful Flagstaff, Arizona, and she's hanging out outside. Check her out.
Yeah, look at that behind me.
Oh,
I
man.
found out today that this area is the largest contiguous pine forest in North America. I'm not sure what all that means, what contiguous means, but it sounds really good. So I thought I had throw that in there.
It looks like there's a tree every 100 feet and they're just scattered all around.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, today we went up to Snow Bowl, I think is what it's called, and it's on Humphreys Peak, I think, which is one of the highest peaks around here. And up there, you start to see a few aspen. So when you look at the side of the mountain, you see the light green mixed in with the dark green, which is really, really pretty.
I love that.
That's the snow area. So wintertime, that's where all the snow bunnies go.
That's too cool. And I just last week on The GOAT, we talked to Jason Hoser, right? And wow, was that an episode? We were talking about suicide. His father committed suicide when he was in high school, and the struggles that he faced and everything that he had to overcome because of that. He wrote a book called Shattered, and it was just amazing. I thought the dialogue we had with him made me really look at suicide in a different way.
Yeah, me too.
It was, yeah.
Couldn't imagine being his age and that happening. It just how that would change the whole trajectory of your life.
Right.
Could. I mean, it would, no, regardless.
Oh,
good,
yeah.
bad, ugly. It certainly would. That's a major trauma.
Oh man, your idol, your safety net, and everything. Then how he used sports to turn it around and start focusing on him and putting his life back together. That was pretty amazing, I thought.
It was.
So tonight's guest, I'm so excited. We were talking about what it takes to be a GOAT and what it takes to make a GOAT. And you know what? As I've worked with a lot of athletes, and there's so many things that I work on the mental game and the head game and the focus and the relaxation and visual imagery and all those things, the skills that are needed to play the sport. But our guest tonight, Karen Huey, takes a different aspect to what they do and how they contribute to athletes and to people that want to be great at anything. And it's like, what's your reputation? What are you putting out there? You know, is a college going to bring you on if you're putting all these pictures on Facebook of you doing stupid things because you know they're going to be looking?
Oh, yeah.
You know they're going to be looking. So let's bring on our guest, Karen Huey.
Let me bring her up here.
All right.
There she is.
Hi,
Karen.
Hello, Karen.
Hello, Jeff. Hello, Julie. And hello, audience.
Yes. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
We're excited to have you here, and we're really excited to talk about, our purpose with Triumph, and we want to help everybody perform at a higher level. And the purpose of the GOAT is we want to help kids, athletes, people that want to be great at something. What does it take to be great? And there's so many things, like they're physical, they got to lift weights and they got to do their mental training and they've got to do what other things. And this is where you come in. And I'm so excited about telling them about Team Cura and you and everything that you have done. But to start it out, I want to talk about or ask you, give us the general highlight of what Team Cura is and your mission, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, thanks. Our mission is really, we keep toying around with how do we exemplify that, but we help people get ready for what's next, whether that's a student athlete trying to get to the next level on their club team or high school team, a high school athlete trying to get to the college level, maybe a community college student trying to get to a 4-year university, or maybe, when they're finally ready to get into the job market, because even all those athletes that do make it to college, only 2% of them are going to go on to the pros. So they better do well in their college classes so that they can get the job after they're done.
And I'm working with those 2% right now, Karen.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I was wondering if you did work with them post college to help them enter the job market. So that's cool too, that you're able to do that, because that is well, it's kind of the same principles, I would imagine. I mean, the same kind of skills, but maybe just a different audience. I don't know. What is there any difference in that?
Well, really, there isn't. We're talking about the soft skills. We're talking about the skills that really differentiate somebody. And to me, and now let me give you a little background. My background is in human resources. I've been in HR for longer than I care to say. And, there's so many things you can do in human resources, but education and development has always been my passion. And I also teach at a community college, human relations, business communication. And throughout the years working with people, I mean, HR, we're in the people business. And most of the time when it's really rewarding, we get to work with the people who want to do well. We develop them. They want to, advance in their career. And then there's some of the people who don't do quite as well, and we have to work on some of those skills. And I've seen this consistent theme throughout, that typically those people that aren't doing as well, and you can walk all the way back to, not just in their job, but in college, maybe in high school, maybe in their extracurricular activities, they weren't as good at communicating. Things got really confused because they couldn't articulate well. They weren't necessarily a good team player. It might be all about me. Yeah,
Right,
it's
right.
yeah. Those that do have an opportunity to get into a leadership role, there's a difference. You need to lead and use leadership approaches, and you need to manage, and those are very different things.
So those are the soft skills that you're talking about, like leading and management and public awareness. It's like, who's your image? What are you putting out there? Things like that.
Branding.
Exactly. We talk about, yep, exactly. Their personal brand, all those things that you do, everything we do every day rolls up into our personal brand, or, our brand, as,
Right.
because I had a habit. I've gotten better now, but I had a habit. I was not quite late, but I was rolling in right at the last second all the time.
Right.
And so people were wondering, well, okay, does she have no time management skills, or does she not care, or, what's going on? And I was like, no, I would just take that extra phone call, or, do that one extra, thing.
Right.
And I was always late. So, it was before COVID, but, I started making that shift. And I can tell you, it's much more relaxing now, too. So I manage my time. So we have a little bit in our program called Skills Beyond Drills around time management, too, because that'll impact how well you do and everything else. So it's really all of this, how we're packaging this all up, and then trying to shift that focus so that our student athletes are really thinking, everything I do, it's impacting my brand. And, is that going to be positive for my brand? And Jeff, like you mentioned, we put it on social media. Oh boy, we know the stories of how you can get in trouble with that.
Well, I want to dig into that in a little bit, but you said time management.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I have realized most athletes that I work with, it is one of the biggest and hardest and most important things that I can help them with. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, they're juggling a lot. I mean, they have a lot going. And, if they can't master the time management to take care of their studies, because keep in mind, it's student athletes, so it's student first.
Right.
So we always like to remind them, that's number one. You've got to go to class. You've got to do your homework. You've got to plan ahead, because those all-night cram sessions, well, we all know, but they don't work that well. At least they didn't work for me.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a big piece of it. So important.
So Karen, let's make the transition for you into you're in HR, you have all this, and then how did you transition into the sports arena? I know your kids both played. Tell me a little bit about that and how you struggled to look for colleges and how to get applications and get your son noticed and all these kinds of things. Tell me that journey, or a little bit about that.
Yeah. My son, Rob, he played high school and college golf. And my husband and I always said, it's up to you, Rob. If you want to go on and try to play at the college level, that's great. But if not, this is yours. This is your dream, not ours. We've done our thing. And so he decided a little bit late in his high school career that I want to go play at college. So he really had to market himself and put himself out there and reach out to coaches, because he had missed some of the opportunities where they would naturally come and see him. Okay. And, so he didn't know quite how to go about that and how to do that. And yeah, and so after we were reflecting on it, and he landed at a great Division II school. It was a perfect fit for him. He's still got lifelong friends, yeah, because he's been out about 5 years now. That still, they all get together from that golf team, and it's those relationships they build. But we were reflecting on it one day, and we're like, oh my gosh, can you remember? I mean, we did some things right, but we did some things not so well. And then as I'm working with employers and I'm, seeing the whole journey, working with the high school and the college students, I said, we can come up with a curricula in a way that students like to learn, and we can really reach them. And so most of the lessons that we've created are short videos. I mean, 2 to 4 minutes. Once in a while, we've got one that's like 6, but they could break it up into little sections if they wanted to.
Right.
We've got it's online, so athletes are busy, like we talked about, so they can go get into a lesson. Maybe they're on their way to practice and mom's driving them or their friend's driving them. They can watch a 3-minute video and they've got one in. They can go practice it right when they get to, the practice.
There's skills that they can actually put to use right away.
Yeah, go do it right now. Yeah, because that's the best way
great.
to learn. I watched this video and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go be a good team player because this was a really good idea I saw in this. Yeah. Yeah.
So it kind of teaches and then is an exercise after that, after the teaching moment, then an exercise to go do. Then basically is what each video is.
Yeah, that's what we really encourage them to do. It's like, okay, you've got to go, because just like the sport, they don't become great at their sport overnight. You're not going to learn these soft skills and really don't like the term soft skills, interpersonal skills, critical skills, people skills.
There you go.
Sounds good. But yeah, you've got to work at it. You've got to practice it. And especially it depends on the topic. We have some communications topics that they're going to be pretty tough. Effective listening. People are not naturally good at listening. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm really good.
Right.
I like your confidence, but most of us are not. It's hard to listen.
And it's such a powerful skill.
Yeah, that's one of the big things that we teach in our program is listening, or for the parents on the parent side, more listening rather than talking. So it is very important. Matter of fact, I think we talked about that last week, something about that, about it's a skill that's just great for interpersonal relationships, of learning how to listen, because that isn't something I don't think really comes very natural to us.
No.
I think it's mostly we all want to talk, or well, maybe some of us.
or we listen to answer.
Oh,
we listen to defend. We listen to respond instead of listen to hear.
Right.
Yeah, we're formulating that answer in our head or our response. And so we can't even hear the rest of what somebody's saying. Yeah. So you really have to take that step back and focus and just listen to them. And if we do it really well, I had a gal I worked with once, and it was really powerful because we would talk and then she would sit there and she'd pause and she'd kind of look. And at first it was kind of unnerving because Americans don't like silence.
Right.
It's very uncomfortable. And so I couldn't figure it out, but she was reflecting on what she had just heard and she was formulating her answer.
Right.
So I would just wait after I figured out what she was doing. And then, we'd have great conversations, but she really took that time. And I don't see many people do that.
I found many people in the medical profession do that.
Okay.
They do it or don't do that.
They do it.
Oh,
good.
They pause and wait and think about their response before they do it. And lawyers tend to be like that also.
Well, you really have to, in both situations, you really have to hear to understand, listen to understand, to know what's going on and how you might be able to help.
Yeah. Don't write the wrong prescription because you didn't listen very well.
Right. Exactly.
Exactly.
So, Karen, one of the things that I want to know is, so I'm working with athletes that want to be great. They want to be the best possible athletes that they can be. And most of them want to go either on to school, to college and play, or they want to go pro at my point. And all this is the same, I know, but it's like the skills that you're talking about, for somebody to be great in today's age, it's so different than being great in my age, where all you had to do is wrestle. And if you were good, then cool, you got to go on. But now in today's age with social media and people watching all the time and you putting yourself out there and how you put yourself out there, colleges are looking for certain kinds of personalities and certain kinds of social that they want on their team. that's all part of this now, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's more competitive than ever. And if you think about it, there's
Right.
about 7.1 million high school athletes in total. And not nearly all of them want to go on to play in college,
Right.
but it's, a
That's a big
10% or
pool.
Yeah,
so. But
a lot.
yeah, there's a lot of them out there. So, a lot of times and my son went through this. He's like, yeah, I'm a pretty good high school golfer. So I'm just going to walk on out there and,
Right.
they'll be glad I'm here. And all of a sudden he
It's a
goes
ball
like,
game.
oh, there's a lot of really good and better golfers than I am, all competing for that same spot. So what we teach is, what are you going to do to go above and beyond? What are you going to do to differentiate yourself?
Right.
You've got to be able to articulate, not just try to text and not just try to, hide behind that. Phones, you actually talk on them, and some
Right.
coaches like that. You've got to be able to demonstrate what you've done as a leader, and in the classroom, what you've done, to be a good team player. You've got to present yourself well and how you dress.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me these days in our casual society. I think, everything's become more casual. And subsequently for interviews, whether it's for a spot on a team or a job, sometimes people haven't quite mastered what they should wear and how they should present themselves, not just with dress, but then their overall, how they make a great first and lasting impression. We have a video around
Right.
that. And one of my favorites.
Changing colors. Hang on for a second.
What's
It's like
going on?
you're getting jaundiced or something.
I'm getting jaundice, and then I'm bouncing back out of it, and it's like I'm an Oompa Loompa. I'm not. Oh.
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
Well, he's working on that. One of the things I was wondering about was social media. What do you teach, and how do you teach that?
Yeah, well, we found that over the years, the students are becoming much more knowledgeable about the fact that, yes, that people will go look, employers go look, coaches go look. They're going to be tracking your social media. So a lot of students we talk with, they become much more careful with their social media, but still sometimes don't think. There's still that misnomer, with some of the platforms that, it goes away. Nothing online ever goes away.
No.
Somebody can find it. We see it all over. Another thing, so they're getting more careful, but then we found that some of the students are then making their social media channels private. But then they've missed an opportunity to maybe promote and put some good stats out there. And so that's one thing that we're seeing, that we're really trying to put some of our lessons around, that, use it to your advantage, not just to post, your vacation and, when everybody was in the pool and, just acting silly and crazy. But you can use it to really put some of your stats, some of your good games out there.
Right.
But then another thing, coaches, college coaches especially, they're looking for more than just your stats. Because again, they're looking at
The
a
whole
plethora
person.
of really good
Right.
stats. So what else are they doing? Are they volunteering, and posting that and talking about it? Did they get an award, for, academics? What else are they doing? Are they involved in their church group, if that's what they do?
Right.
So they're looking for that well-rounded individual. And that's what we really try to emphasize with the student athletes, is that it's more than just your stats and your numbers. And so put it out there and use that to your advantage.
Would they need to do that in kind of the same way as a LinkedIn profile, that formal, or try to make it, you're saying the same thing, but in an informal way? Like, I just finished my game and my stats were this, or is it more like a LinkedIn profile kind of a thing?
It kind of depends on the platform. Twitter is one that's used a lot by the athletic world. So, coaches are looking there and athletes are looking there as well. Don't try to promote yourself on Snapchat. Sorry, shouldn't talk about these specific platforms. I mean, just, that's not the place that you're going to do that. But whatever you're putting out there, keep in mind, that is conveying you and conveying your brand. So I would always try to keep it looking, somewhat professional. I mean, you can still, yes, have fun. We're at this volunteer group, and, there's a whole bunch of us camp counselors, and we're having fun with these kids that we're mentoring, and we're having fun. We're having a good time. But you can do that in an appropriate and tasteful way as well, regardless of the platform.
Genuine, authentic, without looking too staged and, that kind of thing.
There's that balance. Exactly. Not the stage, but not that you're acting totally goofy over there and what in the world. I mean, just don't put that out there.
And you give them guidance on this, Karen? Like, when, because I wonder about that too. We want them to be authentic. We want them to be genuine on their social media, but we also want them to know their audience and who is going to be looking. Like, you got a college coach that's potentially looking, and all do. It's like, I wouldn't bring a kid onto my school if I didn't really go through their social media to make sure they're not doing bad things.
Right.
Yeah. Social media, it's very important. Yeah, they just need to understand and be careful what they're putting out there. And think before you post. It's kind of the same thing. Think before you send an email. If you're not sure, we use the grandma rule. Well, what would your grandma think? Would that be appropriate for grandma to see? Now, occasionally there's a grandma who, well, it might be okay, to her, but for the most part, for the most part, the grandma rule works. So So, but also keeping in mind, it's more than just focusing on the social media. It's what are you bringing to the social media? And again, limit it, but it's that's a small piece of what we talk about. We focus on the leadership, and here's different ways that you can be a good leader and in different settings. A lot on communication, because that is one of the number one ways that people struggle, and on your team. We've done workshops, because we don't just have the Skills Beyond Drills, the online platform, but we do workshops as well. And we'll try to work with teams where they're having a hard time communicating or giving the feedback. That's one of my favorite workshops, giving and receiving feedback, and what happens and why that can be difficult and how we overcome that. Because a team can't do well. It's different with Rob playing golf, the individual sports, but think about volleyball. If the setter isn't in the right place and the spiker is not in the right place, it's not going to work. So they've got to talk to each other.
So what we're talking about, like, if a parent knows that their child needs these skills and wants to introduce them to their athlete, how do they do that? How do they go about talking to you, getting these programs that you're talking about? What's the process?
There's a couple of ways. On our website, they can go on and they can purchase the 1-year subscription to Skills Beyond Drills. And then they can access all of the different trainings, again, primarily videos, but we also have some reference guides. So we really emphasize handwriting a thank you note. If you want to differentiate yourself from anybody, handwrite a thank you note. Interesting. We had a high school intern, then we had a college intern. They weren't sure where you put the stamp and where you put the return address label. So we talk about that. So
my kids, I actually made a little template of an envelope with the main address, the return address stamp.
I know. Nobody tells you. Yeah, but here's what to write. So he was like, oh yeah, I saw in that video how to make a great first and lasting impression. They said something about writing that thank you, but I don't know what to write. So we've got some examples, just to help out. So so a parent can sign up there. We work with a number of club teams and organizations. COVID kind of slowed us down a little bit, because there was a little shift in focus on just how are we going to, keep the teams going and practice and all of that. But we're out of that now, and we're getting back out. And so we're working a lot more with those teams, and we like, we really like doing workshops.
Is it on, like, you're creating the videos and then sending them to the teams, or are you working with the teams, like going out and working with teams?
Well, the Skills Beyond Drills, which is the individual learning program, that is online. So once they sign up, they have access to the online platform, and they can get in there, for a year. They can go back and look at it again. When we do the live workshops, it's oftentimes a combination of some video and then some practice. So they get the practice right there, in the session and so forth, depending on what the topic is. So we'll work with them right there all together as a team.
Do you do any like one-on-one coaching of this sort of thing if they wanted to?
If they wanted to, we haven't done a lot of that yet, but we're always looking and always evolving, our program, so that we can meet those needs of the students, so that they can really start to master these skills. And that's what's going to differentiate them. We also teach them how to create an online portfolio, so that they can, change that, they can tweak that. But it's a really good way, using video, to introduce themselves to a coach, if they're trying to reach out to them. We teach them how to do that as well, and what to highlight and showcase. So
Okay.
yeah.
Gosh, I think everybody could use this, really.
Well,
Exactly.
like I said, I teach basically the same thing, just different examples, different settings. I teach it to all age groups because it's something that everybody can work on, they can improve on. I mean, I'll do it. I was talking to somebody today. I said, "Oh, sorry, my communication wasn't so good." We use the saying, when you ask a question and I tell you how to build the watch instead of just telling you what time it is, because I can get a little too detailed.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's not always a bad thing, Karen.
No.
Yeah, it depends. It depends.
Hey,
But
when I was looking in to you and doing a little research and everything, it looked to me like you guys had a big score back in October where you became partners with the NJCAA. You became their official student athlete professional development partner. That sounds like big stuff.
Or at
yes,
least a big word.
It's a big word. Yeah, that's it.
Say that
Think in
3
real big
times,
words.
Julie.
Say official student athlete professional development partner.
Yeah, not a mouthful. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that one we're really excited about. We're just getting started working with the different schools, reaching out, talking to them. It's been an interesting, season for the NJCAA schools because they pushed all of their championships to spring semester. So everything this academic year, and I teach at a community college, so I know I've been living it myself, has been, really different than usual. So we're all
Right.
looking forward to a nice typical summer and heading into fall. Hopefully campus life and schedules and the sports schedules will be more spread out and back to normal. So but it's a real good opportunity because most of those students are looking to go on to a 4-year university. So they're again trying to rebrand themselves and reach out to those schools. So those are students I teach a lot. That's an age group that's a lot of fun because they get that perspective of the importance of it. So, that's a good group.
About the fact that you and your son own this business. What is that like working with your son? How does that go?
It's great. Love it. It's kind of funny because we have some other people work with us, and he calls me Karen, and and Sean, our new marketing coordinator, was like, "Oh, that's kind of funny. You call her Karen." I'm like, do you do that all the time? He's like, no, on the weekends it reverts back to mom. And, I call him Rob is what he goes by. But growing up, I always called him Robert. So on the weekends it reverts back to Robert. So we just kind of move back and forth. But it's kind of interesting. A new package that we have the Premier Student Athlete Program. And we have partnered with a gentleman who is a high school counselor and also works with Reese Motivation Profile Company. And what they do is, how there's those personality assessments that a lot of people have taken, DISC and MBTI. This doesn't look at the personality. It looks at the motivators. So Jeff, probably a little before they would get to where you get to that mental part of it, right. But it's like what motivates them. So we've partnered. His name's Mitch Landgraf, and the great thing is he's also a high school guidance counselor, and he's got a really couple of kids. His kids are really good athletes, so he understands this whole piece of it. So with the Premier Student Athlete package, they get a Reese Motivation Profile assessment, and then Mitch does the one-on-one debrief. And so it's really nice because then he can help them understand what motivates them. And then we tie in with then how they get those additional, professional skills, soft skills. Right. And so Rob and I each got to do an assessment. And we were really excited because Mitch said he can do the team. So like if Julie and Jeff, if you both did that, he'd be able to tell you how well you work together. And he said that Rob and I are one of the most compatible coworkers that he has seen. So we were pretty excited about that. So we're like, okay, this might work.
Well, there's no way Julie and I would end up being good in any way, shape.
Well, we work well together because he does what I tell him to do. It's just really simple.
Okay. Good job, Jeff.
And I'm not going to argue because then I'm in trouble.
He just does what I tell him, and everything works out.
It's working exactly the way it should.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Karen, thank you so much for all of that. And if I could get you to give one word of advice to my age range of athletes, usually starts about 13 and goes up to 76. But
78.
78, right?
Yeah.
We created a goat that was 78.
Yeah.
And the word of advice, what word of advice could you give to people that want to be great at what they do?
Oh, those that want to be great, just keep in mind it's more than just those stats. It's your whole person, your well-roundedness, and just keep that in mind that you're more than just that sport, because that sport will end one day. Your ability to play that at your competitive level or whatever that looks like,
Right.
but you and what kind of person you develop into, that's really what's important, and that's what's going to draw coaches to you, teammates to you, and so forth. So think beyond just those stats, and you will be
Yes.
much more successful.
Thank you so much. And our goat tip of the week is,
That leads right into it perfectly.
I know this is perfect.
Yeah.
Put your best self out there. And
Like
and
it.
you know, putting your best self out there is exactly what Karen has talked about tonight. It is, you know, people are watching us so much today, and all the good stuff that we do, the volunteering and the things that we're doing on the side, people need to know that. And people need to be able to see that for your college. So it's like, be aware that if you're not putting your best self out on social media and out in the public, you're not going to be doing yourself a favor. So that's the GOAT tip of the week. Thank you, Karen, so much.
Hey, we got
Julie,
one comment popped in here at the last minute. Big Greg said,
I love
boom.
it, Greg. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching, Greg, by the way.
Yes, we love you, man.
All right. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Hey,
And we'll
thank
see
you.
everybody next week. And we're going to we have a goat coming on, don't
Yeah,
we?
we do. We have a young goat coming on.
A young goat
We've
that's
got
going to
old
be
goats,
on.
young goats, all kinds of goats. But
We
next
got
week-
all kinds of goats. I labeled my people that are coming on: old goats, young goats, active goats. There they are, the goats.
all kinds of goats right there. Okay. I forgot I had that. I thought I'd throw that up.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I like it.
We'll see y'all next week. Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.